Hello and welcome back to theCUBE's coverage of Nutanix .NEXT 2025. Hope you're having a great day. Awesome keynote we just saw. Now we're going to get back to some of the live interviews. I'm Bob Laliberte, Principal Analyst at theCUBE Research, and I'm joined by my co-host Paul Nashawaty, also Principal Analyst at theCUBE Research, and of course John Ferrier, who's off taking briefings right now to bring you the best coverage that we can. And I'm really excited for our next guests. We've got both Tobi Knaup, who is the VP and GM of Cloud Native at Nutanix, and we've got Kraig Hufstedler, who is the team leader Platform as a Service from Edward Jones. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
All right, well let's get started. We wanted to focus this, obviously that we've got a customer here, we want to focus a little bit on that journey to a modern environment, moving to cloud native and to Kubernetes. So let's get it started by talking about when your journey began, if you would.
Absolutely, yeah, so at Edward Jones we serve tens of thousands of financial advisors out on the field, and we've got millions of clients. We really started our modernization journey around 2018. We were early Mesosphere customers, and we saw just a huge need for additional applications to support all of our clients and our branch teams. And so we really wanted to move to a more flexible developer platform where the developers could quickly and easily build out a microservice architecture and kind of transition away from the larger VM-based applications.
It's really actually interesting because when I look at the practice area that I cover is app dev, right? And when I look at the context of past, present, and future, there's not a lot of typically greenfield opportunities. It's always like there's bridging the gap between old and new. So I'm kind of curious when you talk about containers, you talk about Kubernetes, you had some kind of exploratory things that happened previously, and now you're kind of moving into more mainstream and production environment. I guess the question will be to both of you is, like, what shifts the kind of the focus from containers, and what were some of the early hurdles that you may have seen?
Yeah, scaling was a big thing for us. We didn't necessarily know, or maybe over time, utilization of certain services and applications would grow. We wanted to start off small and be able to kind of scale those out as we went. So the containerization really enables us to do that a lot more efficiently and optimize and respond to those business needs a lot more quickly than with the VM-based platform.
How about interoperability between old and new, or how did you bridge the gap?
Yeah, so really kind of at the networking layer, starting to try to transition traffic
it's always about the network.
As it's
the
needed.
network.
It's the network, it's DNS at the end.
Always.
It's all DNS.
Excellent, excellent. No, that sounds good. So I wonder if you could talk about some of the before and after in that environment. You said you wanted to shift to make them more agile. What was the environment like prior to? And now that you've shifted, maybe you could talk a little bit about what that environment looks like today.
Sure, yeah, so moving from VMs where, really kind of oversized for what they were needed for, and very manual for deployments and moving workloads onto there. So moving into more of a CI/CD pipeline type environment, and allowing application teams to kind of do their own load testing, do their own resource requirements, rather than being locked in with a certain VM size. They can really get pretty granular and say, we need our microservice to have so much compute, so much memory, so on and so forth.
Excellent.
And Tobi, I want to kind of shift the conversation to you, right? When we look at some of the discussions about this journey and where these modernization efforts are occurring, Nutanix Kubernetes Platform, it has a lot of robust, rich features in it, but there's also a lot of heritage to go along with that, right?
Yes.
It's not just from what's happening today, there's a lot of where it came from and where it's going. So maybe you could talk a little bit about the NKP and NKE and how that's all working together.
Absolutely. So, Kraig mentioned Mesosphere. For those watching who might not know Mesosphere, that's a company I co-founded. It was later renamed to Day2IQ and then acquired by Nutanix in 2023. And so we've been doing containers for many years. We started in 2013. The company was called Mesosphere because we started with an open source project called Mesos, and then later shifted to Kubernetes. So we've been working with primarily large enterprises, like Edward Jones, as well as government organizations, on containers for many, many years. And what's important for that type of customer is, you have to operate that platform often in a regulated environment or in an environment where you have other security constraints, corporate policies, and so forth. And so it's quite difficult to really get the benefit from Kubernetes, which is primarily agility for most organizations, and at the same time meet all these requirements, be compliant, be secure, and so forth. And so when we designed NKP, which is really the product that we had developed at our startup, just rebranded as NKP now, we designed it with that type of customer in mind. Right. So it's not just Kubernetes, it's a full end-to-end platform that checks all the boxes in terms of security and access control and observability, all those day two management capabilities that are critical for running Kubernetes in such an environment. So organizations get that agility for their developers, but they can be compliant at the same time.
Absolutely, and I've been working with you for many years. As you know, this is a very hot topic. What we see in our research that 20% of respondents in our cloud native research indicate that it's critical that their applications are portable across any environments, right? And so having NKE, NKP kind of in the environment really helps with that portability. But it's also, I think the counterpoint would be, well, what if you have organizations saying, well, I can do this myself. I don't need to have a platform. I know how to build it myself. In my mind, it's the devils are in the details. What are your thoughts?
Yes, a lot of details. I think with NKP, we really designed a product that brings together the best of two worlds. One being the do-it-yourself approach, where people assemble their own stack from open source projects, and the other one being a fully supported enterprise platform, which is often pretty proprietary, right? With NKP, we try to combine those two, so it's an open platform. It's based on best-of-breed open source software. There are no proprietary APIs for customer applications. It's pure Kubernetes, but it's complete and fully supported like an enterprise platform. Yeah. So we try to combine that, there's a lot of work that goes into cutting every release of NKP. NKP is built from over 30 different open source projects from within the CNCF. And those projects, they release at different times and they don't test with each other. So somebody needs to do that work, make sure it all fits together. That's all work that we do before we ship any NKP release, so customers don't have to do that. Excellent,
now that's a great overview. And Kraig, I want to turn back to you for a minute, because when we started this off talking about cloud native, most people associate cloud native with public cloud.
Sure.
But in your case, you actually, cloud native doesn't mean public cloud only. You started on premises,
that's right.
And then you're shifting to the cloud, which lends to the any app, anywhere, right? So I wonder if you could share a little bit about that journey, why you started on premises, and then your journey to why you adopted the cloud later.
Yeah, so we're really focused on meeting the needs of our internal customers and our business teams, our application teams, right? And you might even be surprised, we found a lot of teams want or need to stay on-prem. So there's still a large demand and even a growing demand for that on-prem platform. So whether it's data gravity or being close to other services, things like that. So the flexibility that the NKP platform provides to stay on-prem and to really kind of build a similar experience that they might have with a public cloud platform. The latest features, it's easy to use. We want to provide that in a very tailored environment on-prem to meet their needs, so.
Yeah, and how important was it when you did go to the cloud to have that consistent operating? As a former product marketing guy, or product management person, I often had the principle of least astonishment. So when you're going to do something in a different realm, there's a consistency there. So I wonder if you could share your thoughts on that ability to have a common management across multiple different locations.
Sure, yeah, it's really powerful, right? We want our developer teams to pick where they go and not really worry about it too much beyond that, right? And so that's really a powerful thing to be able to provide to them.
Got it.
Yeah, and that also addresses what we see in our research as skill gap issues, right? If there's one platform to learn, and you can use that and harmonize across the multiple environments, that's an important kind of feature. One of the things I saw at the keynote is the introduction of Google Cloud, right? I know that there was support for AWS, for DKP, and there was also support for Azure. Now with Google Cloud being brought into the mix, and on-prem, you're right. I mean, we see, and again in the research, I'm an analyst, I have to keep saying in the research because that's what I do. But at the end of the day, what we see is there's a lot of the flexibility of moving between burst capacity, development capacity, running the applications where, to your point, the velocity of where the application's running for whatever reason, but that portability piece and having that skill to have one platform to do it is equally important, I believe. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, for us, flexibility is the key, right? So, again, we're not seeing a ton of our internal clients that want to be in both yet.
Yep.
But as that need develops, we know that we've got the flexibility to do that, to provide that functionality if we need to.
Got it. And I'm wondering if you come, so I'm a big fan of operational efficiencies, leveraging that platform approach. I wonder if you could touch a little bit upon, during your journey, the before and after, how long it used to take you to do something versus now with the more flexible, agile platform approach, what it takes you now and what benefits you're seeing from that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the biggest thing that comes to mind for me, obviously we've talked about making life easy for developers.
Yeah.
We also want to keep life easy for our platform teams, right? And we've got upgrades and migrations almost continually, it feels like, right? And with the Nutanix NKP platform and the automation they've built around that has really enabled our team to work more effectively, managing the platform and in a pretty transparent, resilient way to our customers, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to introduce downtime at the platform level, right? And so we're able to do that using the tools that they've provided.
Awesome, yeah, so being able to put together all the guardrails to let the developers run as fast as they want in between those, but you ultimately having control over the environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're seeing also that development of applications is just exploding, right? And we're seeing that it's not the professional developer that's only developing applications, it's the citizen developers and people in the lines of businesses that are starting to develop. So there's just going to be an explosion of growth, especially with AI and everything coming into play. So Tobi, I kind of want to shift it a little bit. Now that D2iQ is part of Nutanix and you've been in there for over a year now, roughly. There's a lot happening. And how does the alignment and and the future kind of initiatives that you're looking at, where are you going with the product?
Yeah. This joining forces with Nutanix was really great for us. I think it's a really strong 1 + 1 = 3 story because, I talked earlier about how we've been supporting large enterprises for many years and in particular mission critical workloads at large enterprises. Well, those mission critical workloads almost always need advanced data capabilities, right? And how awesome that we've now joined forces with a company that was really built around hyperconverged storage in the first place. So that combination, it's actually one of the integrations we built after joining is building an integration between NKP, the Kubernetes platform, and AOS, our core storage platform, so we can support these mission critical apps, again, anywhere, because AOS now runs anywhere, and give customers these advanced capabilities for snapshotting and replication that they need to run their apps in a highly available way. So at the same time, we saw it in the keynote, right? Running anywhere is really central to what we do at Nutanix, and the Kubernetes platform still runs anywhere. It runs on bare metal, it runs on any cloud, it runs on public cloud Kubernetes services, but of course also runs on the core Nutanix platform on NCI, and it runs better on that platform, so you get these additional capabilities from AOS and so forth. Nutanix with this acquisition really made a huge move into cloud native and into containers, and that is going to continue. We saw today the announcement of cloud native AOS, which is really our core data platform running in containers, starting with Amazon's EKS and eventually on any bare metal server. So the journey towards more cloud native is continuing, and we're also doing that in support of the huge avalanche of AI workloads that are being built everywhere. Right. We have our own AI platform, we partner with NVIDIA, and all that AI stuff is running on Kubernetes. So, super exciting time.
Well, Tobi, there's a whole another video session around this, because I know that we could talk for hours on this alone, but that's really exciting. It's really exciting to see that you're meeting the customers where they are, you're being like at the forefront of where the trends are moving, and understanding those trends and impacting those trends are also equally important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think I want to go back to you, Kraig, and think about, you've talked about your journey to date. What does the journey look like moving forward? And what were some of the things maybe that you saw during this morning that have intrigued you and that you want to investigate further and you're going to incorporate into your roadmap going forward?
For sure, yeah. On our roadmap is continued growth, right? We've got more and more need for compute at our firm, and we're looking at how we can deliver that to the developers where it's easy for them to use. We're looking at event-driven auto-scaling, things like this, really trying to make our platform as resilient and flexible as possible, right? And so the Project Beacon stuff is really interesting to us, right? Kind of seeing that application platform really focus on those development teams, right?
Sure.
what of that could we make use of to really provide a value there, so.
Awesome, sounds like you got a lot of things to work on
Yeah.
when you get back to the office. One last question before we let you go. Any advice for someone who's starting this journey or getting going on it? What would you tell them to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. Toby, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think there's a lot of exciting technology here, right? Kubernetes and related projects, and I think often the best qualities about something is also what can get us into trouble. So I think the best thing about Kubernetes and the Cloud Native Computing Foundation is the community.
Yeah.
It's a very helpful community. If you're just getting started, you're going to find a lot of content online. You're going to have an amazing first experience with the technology. And so I've seen companies then, based on that experience, underestimate the complexity of actually running production systems, right? We still have to do all the things we always do for IT projects. We have to make sure it's secure, it's scalable, it's resilient, it's supported. And so my advice would be don't underestimate that, right? Get the help you need to train your team on these new technologies and work with a vendor like us to get the support and help reduce that complexity.
Awesome, well, sorry, Kraig, do you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, we really try to stay in touch with our developer community, with our other infrastructure teams, really do a lot of collaboration and listening. Okay. If we're not delivering the right value, we could go down a path that's disconnected from what our business actually needs and what our other partner teams actually need. And so we try to listen a lot.
No.
Well, that's awesome, and everyone, you heard it here first, how to get started, what advice you have, so I thought that was great advice for organizations looking to get going. It's all the time we have for today, but I think, as Paul said, looking forward to some future sessions because there's certainly a lot more to unpack around these topics. So thank you for joining us, and I want to thank everyone for watching this session. Make sure you stay tuned, we've got a lot more coverage coming up of Nutanix.Next 2025.